homemade meatball. Something that I basically no longer make anymore because this is so easy. So this is item M94872. You're gonna be receiving 5 1-pound bags of the beef, veal, and pork meatballs in the sauce. So that's gonna be on 3 easy payments of $23.33. Chris, these smell so good.
Well, you just said something really important, Brittany, about the beef, pork, and veal. Because look how beautiful this is. Look how tender this is. They're fork tender. And you mentioned that you don't make them anymore.
No.
But I remember 25 years ago when I first started with Rastelli's, in our store, we would walk in and everyone was in the back room making meatballs by hand, right? The same thing as we do today. And what makes them so, if you haven't had an Italian meatball, okay, you haven't really had a meatball. Most meatballs that people have actually are all beef. And see how this just breaks apart? But by using beef for texture, right, we use the pork for the flavor, and then we use the veal for this tenderness that makes these meatballs just literally separate with a fork. I am barely even touching these, and they're just coming right apart. Look at that.
It's
Look at
like that's what you mean by fork tender, because a lot of times I feel like when you get a meatball elsewhere, sometimes they're so hard that you actually need a knife. I mean, this is fork tender. It's so like loosely put together, nice and light, delicious flavor.
There you go, Brittany. You want to try that?
I do want to try it.
that. So
Thank you so
what we
much.
do is we actually have our spices. We put fresh cheese in there. We have parsley and basil, salt and pepper. We put a little fresh breadcrumb right at the end just to hold it together. But it makes them so it's so soft. And again, we use whole muscle meat when we do this. There's no trim. There's no scraps. There's nothing that you wouldn't want in a meatball. And a lot of meatballs, you just don't really know exactly what's in them because you don't know, because at a lot of butcher shops, you just don't know. We're using fresh beef, we're using fresh pork and fresh veal, and this is what you're getting. I mean, look at it's just so tender. And there's, go ahead.
And this is in sauce. So this is a meatball that's already in a sauce that is also homemade?
Yeah, and this is what I love about the sauce. So the sauce is San Marzano tomatoes. We actually slow cook these tomatoes literally for 8 hours. And then we add the meatballs in and we cook them for another 4 hours. So those meatballs are not only getting cooked, right, but they're getting cooked in the, we call it gravy. I'm not sure what your family does, but I get the wooden spoon if I call it sauce. So in our gravy, right? So it's this beautiful gravy with fresh basil. It's slow simmered, imported from Italy, and you're getting these beautiful 6 meatballs, right, with the 6 ounces of sauce. This is fully cooked. You're not having to cook this. This is just so easy to have this in your freezer. You're gonna get a bag like this, Brittany. They're gonna come just like this. This is how you'll get them, right? So you get this beautiful package of individually meatballs. So you can actually tuck them away in your freezer. They'll freeze for up to a year in your freezer, which is really nice. But what's beautiful about these, it's completely done. You just have to take this. You can drop this in water, Brittany. Throw it in boiling water, heat it up for 4 or 5 minutes, or you can take them in a saucepan like I did here and have them already.
That's exactly what I do. I take them, I put them in a little bit of the boiling water, and then I put them in a pan just like this because I like to cook them from frozen. And it's so easy for the weeknight dinner, for the Sunday dinner. I mean, like you have here, just boiling some pasta and then having the meatballs to put on top. I see you have some sliders here. They're great to entertain with. If you have a crock pot, you can put them in there as well. So with 6 meatballs per pack and then 5 packs, you're actually getting 30 meatballs. So there's so many of them. If you have various needs, again, if you're entertaining, if you just need to put something on the stove. We had a house full of people this weekend, and this was one of the items that we just had available on the stove all weekend for the kids. They were loving it. Little rolls next to it.
I wish you can smell this at home. Because
I know,
this
it's
to
incredible.
me, it is like, it smells like we've been cooking this pot of gravy in a pot for like hours, right? It absolutely is so fresh. The tomatoes are just, it's just like something like you would spend hours cooking at home. And honestly, if you were to do this at home, Brittany, you're gonna make the meatballs, you're gonna cook them, and you're gonna slow cook them. It's gonna take hours.
I used to. I mean, this is something that I used to do before I met Ray, is I would make the meatballs with my grandmom, with my mom. It was a labor of love for sure. We were in the kitchen, we were sharing memories, creating memories now that I have them with my grandmom. But I still wanted to have that time to, have with my children around the table, but I don't have the time all the time to make meatballs. So this is one of those things where it's a delicious meatball. And like you said, even sometimes when you go to the supermarket and they have the pork and beef and veal blend, it's not the right ratio. They have equal parts.
No,
and that's not how you make a proper meatball for the flavor and the texture.
This is what we do. We break them apart. We put a little fresh mozzarella on a nice little baguette. I actually grill it sometimes. But it's just so easy. Look at this. Look how nice that is. And let me tell you, this is...
Yeah, you can elevate it a little bit.
And it's not going to fall off the roll because these are so tender. I mean, when I tell you, so tender, they are going to just melt in your mouth. And that's why everyone in my family absolutely loves these. I mean, these are something that's just a home run every time that we have them.
Yeah. And then you have the additive of the sauce, which is not incredibly sweet. It's not acidy. It really is the perfect blend. And I do call it gravy. Do you know why some people call it gravy and some people call it sauce?
I don't.
There's like an argument about sauce and gravy, but there doesn't need to be because there's an actual reason.
Okay.
So when the Italians came to America and they were learning the English language, they wanted to know what the word was for bolognese, which is a meat-based sauce. So people were telling them it's gravy. If you're asking me what a meat-based sauce is, it's gravy. Well, gravy kind of turned into a bolognese to a marinara, and it just sort of was a word that was created in the Northeast area, kind of around New York. So when people say, like, my grandmom's from Italy, she doesn't call it that. Well, of course she wouldn't. It was a word that they were trying to learn the English language. So that is why
that's really
certain people call it gravy and certain people call it sauce. So whatever you call it, you're going to definitely agree that it's delicious.
And what we love about these is that they're hand rolled. They're not like compacted like traditional meatballs when people roll them and they pack them like in a machine. So you're getting this texture in here that you're seeing is what the other reason why it's so beautifully textured, I mean, and so soft. And the gravy actually, when it cooks, it gets right into there. So you're getting flavor throughout the whole meatball. But look at this. On traditional meatballs, you can cut it like a steak.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, you couldn't break it apart with a fork or a knife like this, right?
And Chris, what is like another recipe that you make at home for those beautiful grandbabies of yours that maybe they can't have a sandwich? Maybe they're too little.
Well, they love it just the way it is. We mash it up. My daughter mashes it up with the actual gravy because it's just perfect, and they absolutely love it. I mean, it's just so tender and delicious. But you know what I love doing with this, Brittany?
What?
I make pizza with this. But not only do I make pizza, I take it out. I use the sauce in the package for the pizza. I just take it out and I put it right on the pizza. I put the cheese on. I break the meatballs on. If you have an outdoor oven, pizza oven, or even on a grill outdoors, or just throw it in your oven, it comes out. You don't even have to get pizza sauce. I mean, it is absolutely delicious, just like that.
Right.
Right? So that's one thing that we love doing. I love making the sliders because it's actually, you know, it's coming to entertaining football season, entertaining.
And are they cut in half?
Thif are cut in half, so if you get almost double.
Exactly,
right?
So instead of 30, you could have 60 if you're using them on the slider buns. I mean, I like to cut my meatball in half anyway when I have it on a sandwich just to make it easier to eat so I don't look like I'm taking a giant bite.
And it's not going to roll off, right? And it's plenty. I mean, look how big that is. And the other thing too, Brittany, is when you heat these up, right? These do not shrink.
No, not at all.
Because you're just heating them. So it's not like you're going to get something where when you heat it, it's just going to disappear into something really, really tiny. These are the same exact size that you see right here when you heat them, from when you get them to when you cook them.
Right.
Right?
So if anybody is just tuning in, Chris and I are going over item M94872. These are the 5 1-pound blend of beef, veal, and pork meatballs in the tomato sauce. They are on 3 easy payments of $23.33. There are 6 meatballs per every bag, so you are receiving 30 meatballs total. That's under $3 a meatball. In a matter of minutes, all you have to do is heat these either in the bag or out of the bag like Chris has right here. He's already poured some into his pan, but you can put them in some lightly boiling water as well. From frozen, you can continue to just heat these up and have that incredible traditional meatball at your fingertips without all the time in the kitchen, but of course with the time around the table with your family.
You're not going to find an easier meal, Brittany.
No.
I mean, these are so easy to do at home, especially when you're in a pinch. You have kids at sports, or you just need a quick meal. You can't get anything easier than this. And I'm just telling you, I'm doing this with a fork because that's how tender these are. These are just falling apart. Again, they heat up beautifully. They don't fall apart, but when you bite into them, they're so tender and so delicious. The sauce is imported tomatoes. We do everything. We slow cook. And it's just done the way it's supposed to be done, the old world way. And it's just so nice that we can bring these as a really, really fast and easy meal. Oh, that's one of your favorites, I think.
The pink sauce?
Yeah.
I absolutely love a pink sauce. I love it on pasta. I love it on my meatballs. I love it on my salmon. So something like this where you're just adding a little bit of cream to the marinara sauce, and then you have that beautiful pink blush sauce.
Yeah.
So again, item M94872, 5 1-pound beef, veal, and pork meatballs in the sauce. 3 easy payments of $23.33, total of 30 meatballs. Free standard shipping and handling today, so definitely stock up with these in your freezer if you're someone that needs something easy and delicious and does not want to sit around the kitchen all day to make that meatball sauce.
It doesn't get any easier.